There's been a lot of talk about how the asking the U.S. citizenship question on the census is unconstitutional. That general question has been on more than 19 of the 25 censuses the United States has ever asked, and it wasn't unconstitutional in 1990, 1970, 1960, 1950, 1940. It wasn't unconstitutional. It suddenly becomes unconstitutional when the Democrats think there's a political advantage to encouraging illegal aliens to come to the United States and vote for them. In addition, whenever somebody tells you something is unconstitutional, they need to cite the article and section of the Constitution or the amendment to the Constitution that would make that action unconstitutional. They assume that you don't know or haven't read the Constitution, so they can say anything's unconstitutional as long as the viewer doesn't know what is actually in the Constitution. Let me break it down for you. There's three articles of the Constitution. One relates to the president, one relates to Congress, one relates to the judicial branch, and each of those articles have sections. So when you say something is constitutional or unconstitutional, you can literally break it down. Where is that written? What article in what section of the Constitution? Then there are amendments to the Constitution. If one of the amendments to the Constitution makes something unconstitutional or constitutional, then you should cite that amendment. But you never hear that, and you never hear any of the journalists, because they're not really journalists, either from CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, or even Fox News. They are primarily politicians and political activists disguising themselves as journalists. A journalist, no matter what, would ask anybody that says that's unconstitutional, well, what article and what section of the Constitution are you referring to? Let's read it together. Then you would put that article and that section up on the TV and then read it out loud and explain how whatever you're proposing is constitutional or not constitutional. That never, ever happens, because the Constitution is whatever somebody says it is, as long as that person is assuming that you've never read it. You don't know what they're talking about, so they can claim it is whatever they want it to be. That's not true. The Constitution is a written document. You can read it. If it's unconstitutional, fine. Then let's read that section of the Constitution and talk about how it is unconstitutional. On the other hand, if you can't cite the section of the Constitution that makes it unconstitutional, then you're lying and you're assuming the viewer is stupid. In addition, when you say that this asking a U.S. citizenship question on the United States Census is unconstitutional, well, guess what? It's literally been used for almost 190 years in the census. That means that there's about 19 previous censuses that had the question in it, and none of those were found unconstitutional. And the Constitution hasn't changed in the last 20 years. So if it was constitutional in 2010, 2000, 1990, then it's constitutional now. If it was constitutional in 1980, it's constitutional now. If it was constitutional in 1950, then it's constitutional now. By not requiring people or assuming people have read the Constitution or understand it, Democrats get away with claiming anything that advantages them or disadvantages them is unconstitutional. It's just not the case. The Constitution hasn't changed since the 2020 election, when U.S. citizenship question was constitutional. As a matter of fact, Barack Obama asked it on the 2010 census, which was constitutional, but now they're saying it is unconstitutional, even though the Constitution hasn't changed since 2010 when Barack Obama did it. It's just unconstitutional because it would advantage the Democratic Party to have more illegal immigrants in the United States and to appropriate money, power based upon illegal immigration. And the census question would clarify and restrict political power for people who would represent illegal immigrants. Now, the Democratic Party is the party of illegal immigration. Therefore, they're claiming that asking the citizenship question is unconstitutional. Really, what the Democratic Party is doing is they're betraying the country. They're conspiring with the invaders to assume power. If you've ever seen the movie 300, you had these invaders coming into Greece, and you had some people of Greece that were siding with them because because they were getting paid. They saw political advantages. That was one of the guys that was kicked down the well in the opening part of the movie. He represented the invaders. The Democratic Party represents the invasion of the United States, and they don't want the U.S. citizenship question on the census because it would limit the political power and the amount of money they derive from the U.S. Invasion, and that's why they want open borders, because they think it will politically advantage them. And you wonder, well, why has this come up? Well, we allowed a lot of illegal immigration into California. Most of those illegal immigrants vote illegally, and their children can legally vote, and their children vote Democrat. The illegal aliens vote Democrat, and the vast majority of the political power goes to the Democrats. Well, let's once again go back to California. It had been invaded with a lot of illegal immigrants in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Right now in 2019, the Republicans are basically have been ran out of California, and they intend to invade the rest of the United States. The Democratic Party wants the rest of the United States to be invaded like California was, so America can become a one-party state for the Democratic Party. That is not, I don't know if that's constitutional or not. The Constitution doesn't say that you can't conspire to invade the country to switch political power, but that is their goal, and that's why they want open borders, and that's why they don't want the question on the census. Remember, the Constitution hasn't changed, the Democratic Party has. Thank you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, see if you can get away with posting it on Twitter, and if they take it away, please repost it. Thank you.